When a tissue takes a blow, a surgery, or an injury, both its structure and its electrical state change. Membranes are altered, ions redistribute, inflammation appears, and the area can temporarily lose part of its coordination with the rest of the body. In this class, we will use that phenomenon to understand a specific technique of bioelectric regulation, the trauma point. First, we will see what it means to observe the body from its bioelectric organization. Then we will explain what can happen in a traumatized area. And finally, we will review two practical ways to work: application with a distant complementary point and local application with opposing poles. The central idea is simple. We seek to recognize a functional response of the body and help the tissue recover regulation. The identification of microorganisms and medical diagnosis belong to their own specific methods, and it is worth clarifying from the start. The goal of the trauma point is to favor the recovery of the tissue's bioelectric regulation. Inflammation is a necessary biological response, and in many injuries, it is part of repair. The method addresses a broader pattern involving membrane voltage, ion distribution, perfusion, cellular communication, and the inflammatory response. A reduction in swelling may accompany the process, but it represents a possible consequence rather than its central purpose. The history of this method brings together three moments. Robert Becker showed that tissues produce measurable electrical signals and that those signals take part in processes such as repair and regeneration. His experiments helped establish an idea that today seems fundamental. The tissue's voltage is the consequence of cellular life and at the same time part of the instructions that organize repair. Richard Broeringmeyer brought the use of magnetic fields into a clinical setting and developed functional observations through the leg shortening reflex. Later, Isaac Goiz, systematizing the scanning, built an extensive catalog of anatomical pairs and made it possible for the technique to be taught and reproduced. The practical contribution of that tradition is preserved. What we update is its interpretation. Instead of stating that an anatomical pair by itself identifies a microorganism, we understand it as a clinical correlation, two areas that, under scanning, appear to take part in the same pattern of dysregulation. In this way, scanning produces a functional profile of the patient's bioelectric terrain. Microbiological diagnosis is established through clinical and laboratory tests designed for that purpose. To understand the trauma point, we need to remember that every cell lives integrated within a tissue. Each cell is surrounded by extracellular matrix, water, proteins, and electrolytes. The matrix has chemical groups with a negative charge capable of attracting positive ions, retaining water, and modifying the local microenvironment. This means that tissue is, at the same time, a mechanical structure and an electrochemical medium. Within each cell, there is also a voltage difference between the inside and the outside of the membrane. We call that difference the membrane potential, or Vmem. The Vmem depends mainly on how potassium, sodium, calcium, and chloride are distributed and on which channels are open at each moment. That voltage takes part in important cellular decisions to proliferate, migrate, differentiate, repair a wound, or integrate with neighboring cells. That is why, when we speak of bioelectric regulation, we use electricity in its physiological sense, ion gradients, membranes, channels, and cellular networks that can be measured. Cells coordinate part of their activity through connections called gap junctions. They are small channels that allow the direct exchange of signals between neighboring cells. Thanks to these connections, a tissue can behave as a coordinated network of interdependent cells. The work of Michael, Levin, and other researchers shows that bioelectric patterns take part in the organization of form and that a local alteration can generate responses in distant regions of the body. Communication between two distant areas can be understood through the body's continuous pathways of coordination: nervous, facial, vascular, immune, and bioelectric. The proposal rests on these biological networks, rather than attributing it to a direct magnetic interaction between the magnets. This will be an important point when we talk about the relationship between a traumatizing area and a complementary point. The necessary question is, how could a magnet produce a biological effect? The available evidence describes several possible mechanisms. The phospholipids of the membrane can partially change orientation under a field. Some ion channels modify their probability of opening. Responses of calcium, changes in the inflammatory state of macrophages, and effects associated with structures sensitive to mechanical forces have also been studied. These mechanisms offer a reasonable basis to study how a static magnetic field can interact with membranes and channels. Verifying each specific clinical configuration is the next level of research. We might also distinguish intensity from gradient. Intensity indicates how strong the field is at a point. The gradient indicates how quickly that field changes from one point to the next. When we place opposing poles next to each other, a boundary forms where the direction of the field changes abruptly. That boundary creates a pronounced gradient and can be especially relevant for modulating sensory fibers and paint conduction. The field, moreover, decreases rapidly with distance. The intensity measured at the surface of the magnet will therefore be greater than the intensity reaching deep tissue. Now, let us get to the trauma point. When an injury breaks cell membranes, part of the potassium, normally concentrated inside the cells, passes into the extracellular space. That rise in potassium changes the membrane potential of neighboring cells. The area depolarizes, calcium channels open, and inflammatory processes are activated. At the same time, swelling appears, along with compression of small vessels, reduced perfusion, and metabolic changes. If the process is prolonged, the tissue can become acidic. Other matters. In this model, the ionic alteration and depolarization appear first. The drop in pH may emerge after as part of the metabolic cascade. Gap junctions can also close during damage. The traumatized region loses coordination with nearby cells and behaves temporarily as an electrical island. It is still part of the body, but its local pattern has departed from the collective pattern. This idea of the bioelectric island is central. The tissue continues to receive blood and nerve signals, but its cells share information less efficiently and respond with less coordination to the electrical pattern of the healthy tissue around them. When an area remains depolarized, channels that should normally close may stay open. Calcium may keep entering in excess. Membrane pumps work under greater demand, and energy consumption rises just when perfusion may be diminished. The migration of repair cells, the organization of collagen, the response of macrophages, and the way the tissue interprets growth signal may also be altered. Instead of advancing in an orderly way from inflammation toward repair and remodeling, the area can become stuck in an intermediate phase. This helps us understand some possible clinical consequences. Pain that persists after the initial injury seems to have improved, swelling that lingers, exaggerated sensitivity, slow recovery, limited movement, or a region that reacts again to relatively small loads. In a recent trauma, this disconnection may be transient and resolved through the body's normal mechanisms. But if the alteration is prolonged, it can contribute to the area keeping a kind of functional memory of the injury, a persistent cellular pattern that keeps responding as if the tissue were still under threat. Here we speak of functional memory of the tissue, different from psychological memory and from the metaphorical idea of trapped energy. That is why we understand the trauma point as a technique of regulation. Inflammation serves a necessary function in certain phases, and suppressing it indiscriminately could interfere with repair. The intention is to help the tissue leave a disorganized state, recover communication with the whole, and properly complete its own sequence of repair. Repair needs to reverse that condition, remove potassium from the extracellular space, restore perfusion, reorganize the inflammatory response, and allow the cells to coordinate again. In the clinical scanning of the trauma point, the kidney frequently appears as a complementary point. The traditional explanation spoke mainly of P8. The bioelectric framework proposes a broader reading. The kidney regulates the extracellular ionic medium with great precision, especially potassium, but also sodium, chloride, calcium, and water volume. In other words, the kidney helped establish the conditions that allow cells to maintain their resting voltage. How does this relate to the application of two magnets? Current research allows several hypotheses to be formulated and requires that they be presented as such, while a definitive experimental answer is obtained. One possibility is the modulation of the sympathetic axis related to kidney function. Another is that the neuromuscular reflex used in scanning expresses an integrated response of nervous facial and bioelectric networks. A third is that the field facilitates a local normalization at the trauma and a different regulatory response at the distant point. These explanations can coexist, but they still need direct research. The kidney serves as the first candidate because of its regulatory role. When its assessment leaves the shortening unchanged, scanning may point to another node related to the dominant variable of the case, such as the spleen in a more general inflammatory pattern. The third way of working seeks a systemic response. First, the trauma area is identified and scanning is performed with the negative pole following the usual protocol. It is confirmed whether leg shortening appears. Then a complementary point is sought. The kidney may be the first candidate. The leveling response determines whether it is the right point for that case. When the point that levels is found, the configuration is held for approximately 20 to 30 minutes, with clinical observation and patient comfort. On verifying, the magnet at the distant point is temporarily removed. The reappearance of the shortening indicates that the pattern is still present. The persistence of leveling indicates that the reflex used as an indicator has resolved. This change describes the resolution of the functional response observed during scanning. Anatomical repair continues afterward, following its own biological timings. The second way is used as local support, especially when acute pain dominates. Two opposing adjacent poles are placed over the region of greatest pain, always with an adequate barrier when the skin requires it. The area of interest is the boundary between the two poles, because that is where the steepest gradient forms. When the approximate direction of the painful fibers is known, the boundary can be oriented perpendicular to them. In other cases, a comfortable position is used and the response is observed. The application is usually held between 15 and 30 minutes. The local technique and the distant technique have complementary purposes. The local one prioritizes modulation of the pain signal in the area. The distant one seeks a broader regulatory response. In certain cases, they can be combined, always within a prudent and well-documented protocol. Both are presented as bioelectric regulation techniques. The possible reduction of pain or swelling is interpreted as a consequence of the tissue's response. The complete clinical course, a function and biological timing allow the real progress of repair to be assessed. It is advisable to record pain before and after, location, application time, the complementary point found, the response at 24 hours, and any change in swelling or mobility. Before applying magnetic fields, contraindications must be reviewed. Pacemakers and implanted electronic devices are contraindications. During pregnancy, the abdomen is excluded. Ferromagnetic implants, open wounds, and nickel allergy require specific precautions. A significant injury, intense pain, deformity, loss of strength, neurological alteration, fever, or suspected fracture require medical evaluation. The trauma point is a complementary intervention. Imaging, surgery, immobilization, or rehabilitation and medical treatment remain priority resources when indicated. The final idea is this: a trauma leaves a mechanical mark and also modifies ions, voltage, perfusion, inflammation, and cellular communication. The practitioner accompanies the regulatory capacity of the tissue, observes a response, applies a stimulus, and verifies how the body responds. What we can hold clearly today is that bioelectricity is part of tissue repair and that magnetic fields can interact with cellular structures. What we still need to research is exactly how each clinical configuration works and where its specific effects are. That is the most useful position. Preserve clinical observation, update the language, and keep resources open. The trauma point is only one of the techniques taught in the Bioelectric Regulation course. During the course, we will study how to perform scanning, interpret the neuromuscular response, recognize different patterns of dysregulation, select complementary points, apply the fields safely, and document clinical changes, keeping clear the difference between functional correlation and diagnosis. We will also learn to distinguish when an application can be complementary and when the patient needs medical evaluation, studies, or specialized care. The purpose is to learn to observe the body as a dynamic system. Beyond memorizing a list of points, the body can show where it lost regulation and what response it needs to recover coherence. The trauma point lets us enter that model from a concrete situation. A visible injury, an observable functional change, and a response we can verify before and after the application. This is one of the gateways to the method. In the course, we build the complete system, read the terrain, support regulation, no drugs in the application. Thank you.